We just saw former President Trump sit down for a wide-ranging interview with podcast host Joe Rogan. But it's not looking promising that we'll see the same with Vice President Harris. Rogan posting this on X: "For the record, the Harris campaign has not passed on doing the podcast. They offered a date for Tuesday, but I would have had to travel to her, and they only wanted to do an hour. I strongly feel that the best way to do it is in the studio in Austin. My sincere wish is to just have a nice conversation and get to know her as a human being. I really hope we can make it happen." Kaylee, I was struck by, in the episode with Donald Trump, that Joe Rogan's first question off of the bat, he didn't play it, but he referenced The View. When just a couple years ago, Donald Trump was on with the ladies of The View, and they said, "Our friend." There were kisses, there were hugs, there was love. He was running for president then, and he brought up and said, "Wow, the machine has turned against you." And that, I felt, set the scene, set the stage for a very honest, open conversation about how the world sort of went from idolizing Donald Trump, revering him as a character, a main character in the fabric of American society, to somehow, after he actually won the presidency, to turning around and having him in the, to quote Joe Biden, crosshairs.
Yes, and you hit the nail on the head when we talked about Joe Rogan. I forget your exact phrasing, but it was, if you're a listener of curiosity, I know.
Subscriber to curiosity.
Subscriber to curiosity, you listen to Joe Rogan. Kamala should have done this. She was in Texas. There's no reason not to stop by his studios. I had a mom say to me when we were at practice for our daughters, "I feel like I've gotten to know Donald Trump through these podcasts. He's not the monster everyone pictures him to be. He's real, he's authentic, and these 3-hour-long episodes give people a chance to see who he is authentically." Why Kamala Harris would miss out on that opportunity, I do not know, but it is indeed a missed opportunity.
And it's hard, Kennedy, because in conjunction with her declining or as yet to accept the invitation, there's also been a lot of slamming, right? We saw coming out of the campaign and CNN analysts saying that those who listen to Joe Rogan need therapy when, to Kaylee's point, they simply are open to new ideas or to new information or to seeing an old person in a new light other than what the mainstream media might have you think.
And that's what they're saying they want. They're saying that they want to end the division in the country. One of the best ways to do that is through curiosity. And if more people were curious and had conversations with others they disagree with, I think the entire thing would operate better. Our families would come back together. But instead, we're ripped apart by our politics, and Joe Rogan is both consistent and uncompromising. And he wanted her to come to a studio because that's where everybody goes. It's like asking your doctor to have your appendectomy performed at Home Depot. No, it's actually probably best in a surgical center.
Well said.
Noted.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Bill Hemmer, the other thing is, to everyone's point about the authenticity of podcasts, the relaxed nature, I wonder if that's why it would be so damaging and challenging for Kamala Harris. We saw her on that interview here. Right. She just faked an accent. Yo, she was born in Berkeley and grew up in Canada. Her parents were Berkeley professors. I don't know where that accent came from. There's a little bit of pandering, clearly. Would she fold if it was an hour and 1 minute?
Yeah, no, because Rogan won't fold. He has his parameters. It's 3 hours. It's in my studio in Austin. Last week, when everybody in this building was going, "Why is Trump in Texas?" And yeah, he did an event for Ted Cruz, but I don't necessarily think that Ted Cruz is in danger of losing his Senate seat. I said, because he's going to be in the studio with Rogan for sure. You want to reach 35, 40 million people in the next week? That's what you do, and you show up. I thought that it was a very wide-ranging conversation. It showed me the breadth of Trump, and Joe Rogan is a fascinating guy. He can talk about a lot.
Well, look, it had legs as news because you had 33 million plus people watching it on one format.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.